Welcome back everybody, yet another session about Magento GraphQL. Now it's time to write some code. In this session we will be creating a custom query which will return the old classic hello world. Before you can start this course you already should have set up your first Magento module. There are some tools which I would recommend you install before we start. First of all, I recommend to install the PHP Storm GraphQL plugin, which will add support for the schema files within Magento. Another one is the Magento 2 PHP Storm plugin, which you should always enable for each project. Another one is the Magento 2 TV Magento Cache Clean, which is a file watcher, so you don't have to clean caches or flush anything yourself. In this session we will start with the basic module, which is generated by Magento, because we're not going to set up our basic module. We're going to use Magento for that, for which you can find the link in the description. So download it and set it up in your environment. So open up the link, click save and download, copy the extraction command, go to your terminal, then paste it in, execute it. The module will be downloaded to your installation. It's not enabled yet, so as you probably know, you should run setup upgrade. As soon as that command is done, the module is enabled and installed. Now we're all set, and let's go set up the schema for the endpoint. We're going to create a custom schema file called schema.graphqls. In your case, the file will be identified as unknown unless you have installed the extension as mentioned before. Okay, now let's define our endpoint. Let's just call it example query and set the return type to string. So we say query as type. Within that we give it a name, call it example query, which should return a string. Easy as that. This is the first step. Now you can already execute the query. So enable the cache warmer. I added a shortcut for it, cf-w, and if you edit this file you can see it will flush the GraphQL staging schema. So add it back in, go to your playground, set the endpoint, set up the query. It's called example query. This is all you have to do. Press play and there it is. So now it returns an empty value. So we're going to add a resolver to actually return a value. Just declare a new PHP class. The namespace will be followed model resolver. The name is going to be hello world resolver. If you know, press OK, the class will be generated, the basic class. Now the class is generated. What we got to do is implement the resolver interface from the GraphQL query. Yeah, so easy as that. As you can see, you will get an error because it forces us to actually implement the method resolve. So what we're going to do is add the method stubs. Easy as that. Now we are actually implementing everything we need to be a resolver. So what we're going to do next is we're going to fill in this query by setting a return value called hello world. Now you're almost there. We just gotta assign the resolver to the endpoint. So what we now have to do is assign our resolver to our endpoint. So we're going to do that by typing resolver followed by class, refer to our module easy as that. So it's now assigned. As you can see, it identifies our class. Easy, right? Now you're all set. Try out query. Again, you should see now it's returning hello world. Cool. That's your first custom query. But we're not there yet because we have to clean up our code. If you're really going to work with data, you should clean up this class. Because this class shouldn't actually be handling your output. You should use a data provider because that's the class which should retrieve the data. So now we're going to create another class with the namespace data provider and call it hello world. Hello world. Easy as it can be. We're going to add a function called get hello data, which for this example will just return hello world. What we're going to do is use dependency injection to inject the data provider class hello world, assign it to data provider, going to initialize the property, easy as can be. Then instead of returning the string directly, you're going to call the data provider data method. So if you execute query again, nothing will change because the output is actually the same. What we could do is add another character to it so you can actually see the new data provider class is used. Cool. We now have the basic query with a custom resolver and a data provider. So you have a setup to start experimenting on your own. Because you should, in this data method, apply your customer specific logic. In the following session, we will be taking a look at the cache layer and also add caching to your custom request. So please don't totally break this while experimenting because we're going to use this module later on. If you do like my content and want to see more, leave this video a thumbs up. And if you're new to this channel, please hit the subscribe button